Good evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 2 land, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Assiniboine, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and homeland of the Red River Métis. We affirm our commitment to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities, including the national government of the Red River Métis, in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. Our first item tonight is a motion by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that council agenda for tonight's meeting be amended as follows. We have two additions to tonight's agenda. Item 9E, urban systems, their pathway design for Whitmore Avenue, and a letter of support for the fairgrounds for a Country Fest event. That's 9F. All those in favor of the amendment? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Stakilo, that we accept the agenda as amended. All in favor? Yes. And moved by Councillor Stakilo and seconded by Councillor Ray, that we waive the reading and accept and approve as circulated the minutes of our following meeting, and that's our last council meeting from May the 25th. Any questions or comments about anything in the minutes of that meeting? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Councillor Stakilo, be resolved that we now adjourn to hear the appeal hearing as scheduled. All in favor? Yo. Here we go. So I will now commence to hear the representation for the scheduled appeal under the Municipal Act. We have two that are similar, and if you don't mind, we're going to put them both together just because it's you're the registered owner or representatives of the registered owner for both properties. Council has been apprised of information provided by our deputy city manager of all of the things related to these two properties since the fire. And before we get into, Sheldon, having you have an ability to share some information with us, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa for a little bit of a summary, a synopsis of why we're here today and what's the purpose of today's appeal hearing. So Lisa.
Sure, thank you, Mayor Boziak. So before hearing from the property owner, I'd like to provide some background and context regarding these appeal hearings. Both properties before council today involve dwellings that sustained fire damage in 2024 and have remained in that condition for an extended period of time. Following each fire, the city issued orders requiring the structures to be secured and requesting that the owners contact the building inspector to discuss whether the dwellings would be repaired or demolished. Over the past 2 years, administration has undertaken numerous enforcement actions, including notices, orders, follow-up correspondence, and inspections. The city's objective throughout this process has been to obtain either a viable restoration plan supported by appropriate professional reports or a plan for demolition and site remediation. Unfortunately, despite multiple opportunities to respond, the city did not receive engineering assessments, restoration plans, demolition plans, or other substantive information from the property owners. As a result, and in keeping with our responsibility to protect public safety and uphold community standards, administration ultimately had no option but to proceed with the issuance of demolition orders. I want to emphasize that demolition is always considered a measure of last resort. The city would much prefer to see a damaged property restored and returned to productive use where that can be accomplished safely and within a reasonable time frame. Since the issuance of the demolition orders, the owners have advised that insurance matters have now been resolved and that they wish to pursue restoration. And in the interest of procedural fairness, administration felt it was important that council hear directly from the property owners before making a final determination. For that reason, administration is recommending that council grant a final extension and vary the demolition orders with conditions. So most significantly, administration is recommending that within 60 days, the owners be required to provide both a professional engineering report and a report from a qualified fire restoration specialist. These reports are necessary because the dwellings have sustained fire, smoke, and water damage, and council and administration require objective professional evidence confirming whether the structures can be safely restored and identifying the scope of work required to do so. We're also recommending that detailed restoration plans and timelines be submitted and that all required permits be obtained before restoration work proceeds. The purpose of these conditions is to ensure that meaningful progress is occurring and that council is not simply extending timelines without receiving the information necessary to assess the viability of restoration. I would also note that administration is currently developing a vacant and boarded buildings bylaw, which council has previously discussed. It is anticipated that this bylaw may come into force later this summer. Should this occur, properties such as these that remain vacant and boarded may be required to be registered and would be subject to the registration and annual fees established by the bylaw. Finally, council has provided clear direction to administration regarding the importance of maintaining safe, attractive, and well-maintained neighborhoods throughout our community. Vacant, fire-damaged, and deteriorated structures can create concerns related to public safety, unauthorized access, neighborhood appearance, and property maintenance. Administration's goal is not simply enforcement for enforcement's sake, but rather to encourage timely restoration, rehabilitation, or redevelopment so that these properties do not remain in a state of uncertainty indefinitely. So with this background, I'll now turn the matter back to the mayor so the property owner may present their appeal to council.
Thanks very much, Lisa. Sheldon, floor is yours. I think you've heard, my understanding is that council, given the information that Lisa mentioned regarding the insurance settling or this notion that you're willing to move forward, as long as you're prepared to adhere to the, I guess, the recommendations that we have, council is very likely going to say, you have some time to do this. But as Lisa did mention in the tail end, we're really working hard the last couple of years to try and refine our bylaw in regards to properties, mostly because we have issues with squatters and other things, which probably you maybe have experienced. And so, like I said, Lisa indicated it was sort of the last resort to issue this, but you're here, so floor is yours to support what you're going to be doing with the properties, and then council will make a decision.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, it was just my mom actually got the letters. I was away on holidays, and my son couldn't sign for them. So, anyway, the insurance, we just finalized everything in the last probably month and a half, 2 months on both houses. That's kind of what we were waiting for, was to get some indication from them where things were going to go or what they were going to do with them. Basically, what I would like to do is, I guess, given the time, probably by August 1st, have one of them occupiable, and then the other one, the 109, I believe right now it's fully gutted and has already been, the asbestos has been rehumidified. So I think as far as that one goes, I just have to get in it and see what it is. I've been in and out of the other one, just kind of getting it prepped for like finishing work. It was smoke damage, so it's not. There was no structural damage to the house itself, so it was all mainly smoke. So I've gone in and cleaned all of that up, and we're at a point where it's just, I need somebody to get in there. We had to wait for warmer weather to be able to paint and be able to do just wanted to wait till it was warmer to get the windows done and have somebody in there to do look at the electrical, and check all that stuff before we move forward with anything else, and to see if it was more than that. The 109 one, I believe, is fully gutted already, so I don't think there's anything left in it actually, other than just studs and walls. So there's probably less work, but I'd like to get the other one up and going first, and hopefully by August 1st have somebody occupying it, and the other one within a month after that have it completed. Be working on both at the same time, but just have the one is going to be faster to get done. No.
Any questions from council? Or Lisa, can you share with Sheldon the recommendation that we've had from the building inspector and from administration on what we require or what we'd prefer? I guess I'm going to use the word require. What we require to waive the demolition order? I can read them
Yeah.
off if you'd like.
So, and I just wanted to point out that like the building inspector had concerns with, it's 113, you're saying just had the smoke damage. So he had concerns that even though it may be just smoke damage, that smoke, and I also spoke with our safety manager as well, who's on the fire department, and they both had concerns that even though it just seems to be smoke damage, it's not necessarily superficial. Smoke can get in behind the drywall, and there really needs to be like a fire restoration specialist commenting on whether just superficial cosmetic changes are enough to address the smoke damage. So that's one of the concerns that they had. So we were recommending that that you provide a professional engineering report and fire restoration specialist report within 60 days. Satisfactory restoration plan, including timelines within 60 days. Make sure you have City of Dauphin building permits taken out before the work is done, before it's started. Make sure it complies with all current building, electrical, plumbing, and energy code requirements. And to ensure that it's substantially completed on both properties by the end of 2026. So, and I just wanted to note as well that the original order that was issued to repair or demolish and to contact the building inspector, like that is an order that is issued under the law, that is issued under the Municipal Act. And so when there's no response there needs to be a response to the orders so that we know that you hear us, you're taking it seriously, and that you're following the law, because it does fall within our bylaws to enforce. So we just need to make sure there's communication as we go forward. Thank you.
If there aren't any issues with, what's in the resolution, I'm sure. Is there any other questions from members of council? I think like yeah, December 31st of this year is sufficient. You indicated that you probably have one by August and probably sometime in the fall. So, okay. Yeah, and we're prepared to give you to the end of the year. So if you get it done before that, it's like yoo-hoo, woohoo, we'll do a little happy dance. But okay. Well, you might have to call in a favor or something, or a wink wink with somebody. But if you, after the presentation, like in the next few days, if you can touch base with Lisa, or maybe Lisa can put you in touch with Dave Durkatz, just to fully understand, we're good to go. Like, unless there is nothing to add, you're free to go, Sheldon. And council will pass a resolution shortly that basically,
If everybody's in agreement,
we can do that right now. You
actually
can,
we'll flip through the pages to make sure that
that's just both
we
of
go
them.
through process. But yeah, they're both here.
So there's
they're
both of them.
saying
I'm going to read one.
Same thing.
They're basically the same. Okay.
We were- you
All
can
right.
Flip back to where it.
One more.
Yep.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Ray, second by Councillor. It's only been 4 years. I still need some help, wandering through this procedural stuff. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Sobring, that we now reconvene to the regular council meeting. All in favor? Yay. All right, now moved by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Ray. Be it resolved that the appeal hearing for the order to demolish the structure and level the site at Lot 18, Block 45, Plan 5, which is 109 Fifth Avenue, be concluded. All in favor? And same resolution, moved by Sobering, seconded by Ray, for the other property, which is 113, be now concluded. All in favor? And I'm going to read one of the resolutions fully, then you're free to go. And they're both the same. If we're okay with that, I'm not going to get in trouble, go to jail for.
So we can basically say for 109 and 113.
Sure. Okay. So whereas fire damaged dwellings located at 109 Fifth Avenue Southeast and at 113 Fifth Avenue Southeast, and since the time that the city has undertaken a series of enforcement actions, including notices, orders, and correspondence seeking either restoration or demolition, and whereas despite numerous opportunities to respond, no engineering assessment, restoration plan, demolition plan, or other substantive information was provided to the city prior to the issuance of the demolition order dated March 31st of this year. And whereas the property owner has appealed the order and advised that insurance matters have been resolved, and whereas council has considered the appeal, the information provided by the property owner, and a memo dated June the 5th from the deputy city manager, and a presentation tonight from the same, that the demolition order be varied with the following conditions. Be it resolved, the council agrees with the city manager's recommendations and varies the order for 109 Fifth Avenue and 113 Fifth Avenue Southeast, as long as the following conditions are met, that is, that a professional engineering report and or fire restoration specialist report assessing the structural condition, sorry, that's not an and or, that's and, structural condition of the dwelling and outlining the scope of work required to address the fire, smoke, and water damage shall be submitted to the city within 60 days. A satisfactory restoration plan, including timelines, be submitted to the city within 60 days. And Sheldon, you expressed that tonight, your timeline. Further point that the City of Dauphin building permits be obtained prior to commencement of restoration work, that all restoration work shall comply with current building, electrical, plumbing, and energy codes, and that all restoration work necessary to bring the property into compliance shall be substantially completed by December 31st of this year, unless otherwise authorized in writing by the building inspector, and that any future City of Dauphin bylaws related to vacant or boarded buildings shall apply to the property, including any applicable fees and charges. Further be resolved that should the owner fail to satisfy any of the foregoing conditions, the demolition orders shall remain in full force and effect, and the city may proceed with enforcement action without further appeal. Call for the question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? And those motions are both carried. So we're good to go. Thank you for coming in. And if you can get in touch with probably Dave or Lisa just to connect all the dots, we're good. Thanks very much. We'll move now to the consent agenda. We have a couple of action items. We have two proclamations. And guess what? We have two student counselors here tonight. So one gets one and one gets the other one. How about that for great planning? So first up, who has the National Public Service Week announcement?
That'd be me.
All right.
Whereas by an act of parliament in 1992, the third week of June was proclaimed as Public Service Week. And whereas the public service employees from all three levels of government share a common link that sets them apart from employees in other sectors, and whereas it is their commitment to serve the citizens of our cities, provinces, and country with professionalism, expertise, and sensitivity to the changes faced by an ever-changing public. And whereas public service employees should be thanked for their contribution to society, now therefore we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim June 14th to 20th, 2026 as National Public Service Week.
Thank you very much, Jake. And now the next proclamation, Danica.
Whereas the June 21st National Indigenous Peoples Day is the 30th anniversary of celebrating the heritage, diverse cultures, and valuable contributions of our First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples to our country, province, and communities. And whereas National Indigenous Peoples Day is also an opportunity to come together to share the experience of Indigenous culture and traditional food, dance, storytelling, and games. And whereas collectively we recognize the courage of residential school survivors and their families and grieve the suffering and loss of Indigenous children found near the sites of Canada's residential schools. And whereas we believe that every child matters and that meaningful steps towards reconciliation in a spirit of respect, cooperation, and partnership are more important than ever before. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim June 21st, 2026 as National Indigenous Peoples Day.
Thank you very much. Very well done. Council, take note. Those were done. So next time around, right? Head nod would be appropriate. There we go. Be resolved that we now, be resolved, and we're not resolving anything. We're going next to the filing items. We have news release from Transportation Infrastructure, renaming a section of the Parkland Highway. Some of us were in attendance at the ceremony last week at the airport for Willie Barker Highway. The Mountain View School Division shared their news digest of May the 25th. Parkland Chamber of Commerce has provided a series survey for the 2026 luncheon series, and Chamber Matters, the newsletter for the month of June. Growing Ag Manitoba newsletter for June. Prairie Mountain Health Plus newsletter also for the month of June. And the Canadian National Railway 2026 Community Outreach. And those are recommended by the City Manager and myself. Moved by Councillor Sobring, seconded by Councillor Skyla. Be resolved that all items listed under consent agenda be approved and form part of our meeting minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Bellemare, seconded by Ray, that we accept the corporate report from the City Manager. So before we do that, we'll hear a few of the highlights from the City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The thing I want to highlight the most in my report is the progress on our Prairie Park Place Early Learning Center. And I think we have to pause and get excited about this. Council does have a resolution to consider this evening, and it is the award of the contract to the construction firm. So as some people have seen, the construction has informally begun at the site at the corner of 6th Avenue Southeast and 3rd Street Southeast. But tomorrow it will formally start. So that a few of the informal things are some construction fence, figuring out logistics of staging and setting up the area, as well as which trees are identified for removal. And we've been talking about this facility for over 2 years, and it's great that construction is beginning, and a lot of thought has gone into it. We've considered other properties in town. However, the province had some requirements for size, and this location just made sense in terms of the requirements from the province, as well as its location and convenience, proximity to other things like Mumway Park and Dauphin Rec Services and neighborhoods, things like that. We had talked about location on the lot. Originally, we really wanted to locate it further east or further back from 3rd Street, and that was the original design. However, with working with the province and financial constraints, we couldn't have it that far away from the servicing. So we did have to move it closer to 3rd Street, and that did result in needing to cut down some trees. So the contractor identified which trees need to be cut down and only cut down the ones that needed to be cut. So driving by, actually there was a few more than I anticipated that were left. So that was good. Most of those trees were elm trees, and we know in our community, elm trees are at risk, and they most likely would have been removed anyways. So having early removal does provide possibly for the better health of the remaining elms that are there. And the city makes a commitment to working with a childcare provider in the future once the facility is built and we know where everything is placed, so that we can plant more trees and replant that area and plant species that might be interesting for the children at the daycare. Big shade trees, things that you could maybe put a swing underneath, things that you can maybe put a tree house in, and eventually, not at the beginning, but eventually, and maybe an orchard, maybe things where children can learn about where their food's grown. So apple trees or different other bush fruits like raspberries, things like that. So just wanted to highlight this. This is happening. This is good news, and we're going to see a lot of change and progress in that corner in the coming year. Thank you.
Any questions or comments about what Charlotte presented or anything else in her report from any member of council? Call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Ray, that we accept the corporate report from the Deputy City Manager. Lisa, highlights, please, if there are any.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Boziak. May was a particularly active month, resulting in my longest monthly report to date, 8 pages, highlighting all of my work, including, among many other things, community safety and well-being, election planning, bylaws, policies, and drafting of a new council orientation manual. There are just 3 things that I wanted to highlight very briefly. One is the Downtown Pigeon Management Program. So you may recall that council approved through the financial plan process this management program for pigeons, and I finalized and executed an agreement with Orkin Canada to implement the Downtown Pigeon Population Management Program utilizing ovocontrol sterilization system. So planning and coordination activities were undertaken in preparation for the program's launch this month. The program will begin with targeted trapping and removal activities, followed by the installation of 3 strategically located rooftop feeding stations in the downtown area. The feeding stations will dispense ovocontrol pellets designed to gradually reduce pigeon reproduction rates through a humane, non-lethal population management approach. Second, we are launching a new residential recycling campaign. In May, I put together a recycling working group and, in collaboration with the Tourism Dauphin Summer Student, coordinated the development of a comprehensive recycling education campaign aimed at improving recycling practices, reducing contamination, and increasing public awareness regarding acceptable recycling materials. In response to ongoing misuse of the residential recycling depot, operational changes were implemented, limiting accepted materials at the depot to cardboard only. So public communications were developed to explain the rationale for the change and to educate residents regarding proper use of curbside recycling services. And last, work continued on the Craft District initiative throughout May. I worked with city staff to update project communications and provide accurate information regarding the scope, purpose, and anticipated benefits of the initiative. And I just wanted to note that in May, I had the opportunity during personal travel to Nova Scotia, I had the opportunity to observe numerous downtowns and main streets that successfully incorporate many of the same placemaking and pedestrian-oriented design elements being contemplated through Dauphin's Craft District initiative. The experience really reinforced the extent to which these features have become commonplace in communities seeking to strengthen downtown vibrancy, economic activity, walkability, and community identity. And I look forward to seeing the many benefits the Craft District initiative can bring to our community as well. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for the Deputy City Manager? All in favor of her report? Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Daly, be resolved that the finance accounts, having previously been examined by council, be authorized and approved as follows. We had 66 checks in the recent run, totaling $236,787.35. There were no voided checks in the current range. However, we had several voided checks in the past range from February, March, and May of this year with Canadian National, McMahon & Yates, and Piston Ring. All those checks seem to get lost in the mail. We had one to Dawson and Bredishire where the legal invoice deducted from proceeds, and May the 8th, payment reissued in the spouse's name. There were no electronic payments during the period. Questions or comments regarding anything in the financial report? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be resolved that we accept this information, the financial statements before adjustments for the period ending the end of February of 2026, and that's the general fund balance sheet and income statement and the utility fund balance sheet and income statement. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Sobering. Be resolved that we accept as information the reserve report for the period ending February 2026. Questions or comments regarding anything in the reserve report? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that Council accepts as information the Protective Services report for the bylaw enforcement officer. Any questions, comments regarding the bylaw officer's report? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Information in the report from the Protective Services in regards to animal services for the month of May. Questions or comments regarding anything in the animal services report? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Okay.
We'll just deal with it. We can.
I was excited because there's a single family home in there.
Mm,
Okay. Can we, can.
just
may
make
I?
one? Sure.
Yep.
May I? May you? Yes, you may.
While
Well-
she's writing, I just noticed that was missing because, like I said, there's a new single-family home, and plus the big resolutions from the government about our daycare and hospital renovations and stuff, some big
Our-
bucks. So it just needed to be pointed out. Things are happening here.
Eagle-eyed Councillor Bellemare keeping us on track and making Sean stay longer. So I'll just wait for Charlotte to write that up, and I'm going to say that moved by Councillor Bellemare. Who would like to second this motion? How about Councillor Sobering? Since I looked that way first, sorry guys on the right. Get you next time. Be resolved that council accepts information, the May report for the building inspector. And Council Bellemare has already made a comment. Anyone else have a comment regarding the building inspector report? Nice to see the value of building inspectors getting on the agenda. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you for picking that up, Councillor Bellemare. Be resolved. Next motion, moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Stakilo, that we accept as information the minutes and reports from the following committees. The DART Restart Committee, their 2025-26 annual report, their regular committee meeting minutes of March 19th, the Restart Family Coordinators report for the month of April, and the Program Managers report also for the month of April. We also received information from the Intermountain Watershed regarding their regular board meeting minutes of April the 27th and the Sharps Committee regular meeting of May the 12th. Any questions, comments about any of these reports or minutes from outside organizations? Call for the question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Whereas the government has committed funding in the amount of $200,000 to the city through its Safer Neighborhoods, Safer Downtowns public safety strategy to support community safety initiatives, crime prevention efforts, and activities that enhance public safety and well-being within the community. And whereas Council confirmed its intention to utilize the funding to support the implementation of a downtown safety patrol pilot project intended to enhance public safety, strengthen community well-being, and provide a proactive community-based response to emerging social and safety concerns, be it resolved that Council accepts as information a project contribution agreement between the government and the city and a memo dated June the 5th from the Deputy City Manager noting the agreement establishes the terms and conditions governing the administration and use of the funding for the period April the 1st of this year to March the 31st of next year, and recommending that it be approved. Further, we resolve that council authorizes the project contribution agreement related to public safety grant funding in the amount of $200,000 to be signed and sealed by the mayor and city manager on behalf of the city. Any questions or comments regarding this resolution? I'd just like to commend the councillors that are involved in the Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee and the work that's been done previously on putting all of that together. And then, you know, with our good fortune to have the province fund this additional grant, certainly lets us get ahead of issues that we've identified before. Call for the question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Sakalo, seconded by Councillor Ray. Whereas the government has awarded the Dauphin $200,000 through this program, and whereas Council confirmed the intention to utilize the funding to implement a 6-month safety pilot project, and whereas the city issued a request for proposal seeking qualified proponents to provide downtown safety patrol services, which closed on March the 26th of this year, and 7 proposals were received and evaluated in accordance with the criteria established in the RFP. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a memo dated June the 2nd from the Deputy City Manager regarding the Safety Patrol Pilot Initiative and recommending the awarding of the contract to Classify Security Group for a total of $186,840 plus taxes. Further be resolved that Council agrees with the Deputy City Manager's recommendation and awards a contract in this amount and authorizes the City Manager to exercise the necessary agreement with the group on behalf of the City of Dauphin. Questions or comments regarding this resolution?
They're starting later this month. Is that the plan?
Yes, starting later in June, yes.
Again, good work on everybody involved, and to get 7 applications in on the RFP, I think was solid in the sense that there are organizations and groups out there that are able and willing to do this work, and will do it appropriately. So call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Sakalo, seconded by Councillor Ray. Whereas the city was awarded funding for design and construction of a 120-space childcare facility through Manitoba Early Learning and Childcare as part of the Canada-Manitoba Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement, which is intended to create new, regulated, not-for-profit childcare spaces throughout Manitoba. And whereas Sternberg Architecture conducted a competitive procurement process on behalf of the city for construction of the Prairie Park Place Early Learning Center, resulting in 5 bids being received, with XL7 Limited submitting the lowest compliant bid in the amount of $7,582,770 plus taxes. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a Canadian Construction Documents Committee, CCDC, to stipulated price contract between the city and XL7 Limited, and a memo dated June the 8th from the Project and Development Manager recommending the agreement be approved for execution to allow construction of the Early Learning Center to proceed. Further be resolved that Council agrees with the Project and Development Manager's recommendation and authorizes the CCDC to construction contract between the city and XL7 Limited for the construction of the Early Learning Center in the amount indicated, be signed and sealed by the City Manager on behalf of the City of Dauphin. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? Yeah, that's another yeehaw for me. I know that this has been a long slug, and I want to, you know, again, acknowledge the work done by senior administration, particularly Justin and Martine, our project officer and ECNET dev manager, who have done a lot of work negotiating this with the province. And I want to acknowledge the province for putting us back on the agenda at the most recent Treasury Board hearing to get this all done in due time. And now that the fence is up and the construction will actually start, we can all see it occur. So all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Daly, whereas the province has provided funding in the amount of $1.5 million to support the expansion and development of the North Gate Trail system. And whereas council by resolution number 2026-212 adopted on June the 9th of this year, which is approved the City of Dauphin acting as the funding recipient and flow-through administrator for the North Gate Trails Network Expansion Project, and authorizes the execution of a project contribution agreement with the province governing the administration, reporting, and accountability requirements associated with this funding. And whereas the province has authorized the city to transfer the funding to Northgate Trails Incorporated for project implementation, subject to appropriate reporting and accountability measures, be it resolved that council accepts as info a memo dated June the 5th from the Economic Development Manager regarding the transfer of provincial funding received for the Northgate Trails Network project, recommending that the transfer be approved with the following conditions: that Northgate Trails, Inc. shall provide regular project status and financial reports to the city, that invoices and supporting documentation shall be submitted quarterly to the city outlining expenditures incurred, that funding shall be used solely for the purposes outlined in the improved expansion project as described in the project contribution agreement with the province, that Northgate Trails, Inc. shall provide such information, records, reports, and supporting documentation as may be required by the city to fulfill its reporting, accountability, and compliance obligations under the agreement with the province, and that Northgate Trails, Inc. shall make reasonable efforts to follow the recognized best practice nonprofit procurement processes and maintain appropriate records for all project expenditures, and that the city reserves the right to request additional information or documentation as required to satisfy the provincial recording requirements, and that any interest earned on the transferred funds shall be used solely for the Northgate Trails project and shall be included in all financial reports to the city. Be it resolved that council agrees with the Economic Development Manager's recommendation and authorizes the transfer of the full provincial funding allocation of $1.5 million to Northgate Trails, Inc., subject to the conditions outlined above and applicable terms and requirements of the project contribution agreement approved pursuant to Resolution 2026-212. Any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Again, another woohoo major work up at the Northgate site that is certainly going to tie into our whole tourism and ECDev promotion strategy, and it's all coming together. It certainly has been a long period, but the timing of certain events that are all falling into place, I think, just again is something very positive for our community. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Councillor Ray, whereas administration has completed review and update of the city's travel and expense policy, resulting in the development of policy 2.3.6, which replaces policy 2.3.5 and provides updated guidance respecting travel authorization, expense reimbursement, accommodations, meals, mileage, and related travel expenses incurred while conducting approved city business. And whereas the updated policy has been reorganized and modernized to improve clarity, consistency, accountability, and administrative efficiency, and includes provisions respecting shared accommodations, an increase to the private lodging allowance, clarification of mileage reimbursement, and enhanced guidance regarding travel time compensation, be it resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated May 16th from the Deputy City Manager regarding policy 2.3.6, which is a travel and expense policy previously mentioned, outlining the proposed revisions and recommending adoption. Further be resolved that council agrees with the recommendation and approves policy 2.3.6 as presented and repeals policy 2.3.5. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. Holy moly. Is the last big one? Oh. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Ray. Whereas the city The city's 2021 active transportation strategy identified Whitmore Avenue from Jackson Street to Mountain Road as a key corridor for future active transportation improvements and recommended development of a facility separated from vehicle traffic to improve safety, comfort, and connectivity for cyclists and pedestrians. And whereas council approved funding within the 2026 financial plan for the preparation of a functional design for a multi-use pathway along the Whitmore Avenue corridor. And whereas administration obtained competitive quotes for the preparation of a functional design and Class D cost estimate for the project, with submissions receiving ranging from $47,500 to $69,900, and Urban Systems submitted the lowest priced proposal. Be it resolved that council accepts an info memo dated June the 8th from the project and development manager regarding the proposed Whitmore Avenue multi-use trail functional design and recommending the acceptance of the proposal from Urban Systems. Further be resolved that council agrees with the project and development manager and approves the proposal for the preparation of a functional design from Jackson Street to Mountain Road in the amount of $47,500 plus taxes. Further be resolved that council authorizes the city manager to execute the agreement for these services and any associated documents required to implement the project on behalf of the city. Questions or comments? Councillor Sobring?
Was this one in the budget already? Okay, that's all I had.
Yeah, and it's part of the multi-year planning that council has discussed about active transport, so it all fits. Questions or comments? In addition to Councillor Sobring? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And another motion by Councillor Sobring. This one seconded by Councillor Stakala. Those guys are in cahoots today. Lots of wordy motions. Whereas Dauphin's Country Fest is a nationally recognized festival and one of Manitoba's premier tourism and cultural events, attracting thousands of visitors to our area each year and contributing significantly to the local and regional economy. And whereas organizers have requested municipal support for a Canadian Armed Forces flyby during Country Fest to be held at Salaw between June 26th and June 28th, and have requested that consideration also be given to include a flyby of Main Street to maximize public viewing opportunities. Be resolved that council accepts the information correspondence dated June the 8th from Barrett Procession from Dauphin Clinic Pharmacy requesting municipal support for the Canadian Armed Forces aircraft flyby during Country Fest. Further be resolved that council authorizes the mayor to provide a letter of support to the number 1 Canadian Air Division headquarters endorsing a flyby, including transit, practice, and demonstration flights as low as 500 feet in connection with Dauphin's Country Fest, and further expressing the city's support for inclusion of the flyby over Main Street where operationally feasible. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Questions, comments? Councillor?
Oh, just a question that if this proceeds, is they're going to advertise when this is happening so people are aware?
We got the request today and wanted to make sure we've provided the request before, or we've provided a letter of support before. We can make sure that we ask if that's possible, because maybe without any advertising, it would be a little
Scary.
unsettling. Certainly.
So they're doing a flyby up at Country Fest, but Country Fest has suggested they should also do a flyby in town. No, but with what? Airplanes. Airplanes, big planes. I don't know. It might be a, oh, okay. Yeah, airplane. No, it might be a boat. No. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Didn't think so. Thank you. Carried. And moved by Councillor Stakalo, seconded by Councillor Daly. Be resolved that we accept the information, the following invitations. That's the Northwest Métis, from the Northwest Métis Council for our 4th annual Walk with Pride parade. That's June the 13th, this coming Saturday. I've accepted that invitation and we'll be there, and we'll be bringing greetings on behalf of the city. Anyone else thinking about going there? It's Mamawi Park this year, which is a little bit different. So it's Saturday. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Ray, that we accept the following community event invitation, and that's the walk and the Pride Parade for the same day. And all in favor? Opposed? All right, the council reports are next. Where do we start? Who's the mayor going to pick today to start? Let's start with Councillor Sobring, since you are keenly looking for your red button.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I don't have a 8-pager like deputy city manager, but I do appreciate that. I going through this meeting, there's a ton of stuff happening, and I know that means everybody's been working really hard, and it's exciting to be able to be part of all these awesome projects. So for me, I attended a grand opening at Lennon Law, which is on 2nd Avenue, the future home of the Craft District. And congrats to them on their investment in our city and their property. And we hope to make our contribution as well to show support for our business, small business owners. I was at the Vermilion Sportsplex doing tree planting. I believe to date, from last year's planting and this year's, we're going to hit a total of 10,000 new trees planted-ish, which seems like a lot, but I think I planted probably about 3,000 of them. I don't know, Bosiak was a little slow. So yeah, it was lots of fun though. There was a lot of councilor out there and community, and it was a hot day, but when you got the system in place, it sure goes quickly. I did spend some time this week at the cemetery, just updating some of the software and working with our new administrator, getting the processes dialed in. I wanted to give a big congrats out to Kate's Outlaw. They did a big show here at the Credit Union Place. I know through rec services, one of the big discussions is having more concerts and more ways to raise funds. It seemed like it was a really well-attended show, and they're a local community country music band, so well done. I also did some travel. My wife's birthday, she decided to run a half marathon. I decided to watch a half marathon, but it was in Saskatoon, and they do have a very beautiful, lots of different sections of their city, specifically downtown. And I do experience what I hope to see some of the elements we could incorporate as well. There was I could see all of the things that we have received in our report from Urban Systems: the tree planting, the lighting, the conduit corridor, and there's parking there as well, and just the traffic flow, and it's very, very welcoming. And it was just an excellent experience visiting there. I'm also excited about the site prep for the construction at long last for the daycare. I know it does. It really is saddening when we have to see one of those big trees come down. But I think also, and maybe Councillor Bellemare would confirm this, but I think they also planted 30 trees for Mamawee today, full sizers. So there's always been 100 to 150 trees that we replant every year at the city, and then we do the tree giveaway, and it's kind of part of a Dutch elm disease to combat that and keep our community nice and have the good canopy. I attended the 125th anniversary celebration at the Dauphin Hospital. That was it's hard to imagine that's how long that's been in place, but good support from a lot of the former and existing staff, and everybody kind of came indoors because it was a scorcher that day. But it was good to see that and the continued investment in that facility. The other thing that happened was there was a Criterion race. I missed that, but I think it sounds like that was a good one. The people on the internet looked like they were having lots of fun. So hopefully that was another attraction to our city that we hadn't had before, and just made it another notch on our belt, I guess, of cool things that we're doing. I just want to express, I guess support or it's there's some severe flooding in Minnetonka, just to the north of us. It always it's terrible to hear when communities are faced with a disaster. It seems very close to here, and I know probably their council and their staff are scrambling to figure out what to do, and they have a tremendous amount of water, and the highways are some of them are impassable and washed out. And I was just up in Swan River last week, so it's definitely whatever support they need, I hope they get. Definitely one of the signs of the times. And other than that, I know there was some discussion about the craft district online. If for those of you who go on Facebook, there I don't know who needs to still hear it, but the street is not getting closed down, so it's actually going to be more passable for traffic and safer for pedestrians at the same time. So I just kind of hope to reinforce some of the misinformation that's out there. I know it's an election year, so people really want to dig in and make their voices heard. But this project is taken into consideration all not just business owners, pedestrians, but motorists as well. And then other than that, sorry. So I think I did hit 8 pages. And it's just, I think if this is the way it's going to go this summer, I don't know if there'll be anything left to do once Mayor Boziak is done. So I guess, job well done to everybody, and enjoy your summers.
Next, Councillor Daly, are you ready? We're doing the flip-flop here, back and
Sure.
forth.
I don't mind. I'm good, thanks, Mr. Mayor. May 25th, last regular council meeting. On the 26th, I attended our field house study meeting with the grass people. Here, the people I use are grass people, with Councillor Ray and City Manager Charlotte tended to keep notes and keep us online. It was a good information session. May 29th, attended the Billy Barker Highway ceremony, as well as the 125th hospital anniversary. 31st, did attend the Criterion bike race, which was very impressive. That was really interesting, excellent racing. I don't think I would have finished in the top 10. June 3rd was Assiniboine College duties, sat on the board modernization committee, which is interesting. Also on June 5th, the Assiniboine board of directors and senior staff and management all attended Dauphin for annual retreat. So that brings in a lot of activity. They came in the night before. We had dinner at Mr. Mike's on Thursday. We met all day Friday and then attended AC Grad on Friday afternoon, which was very nicely done. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. Student Councillor Jake.
I have a very short report, as always. All the seniors at the DRCSS have been organizing events to celebrate the end of high school. Within the past few weeks, the seniors have started a game called Senior Splashin', where the goal is to shoot your fellow seniors with water guns, and whoever survives the longest wins a prize pool consisting of $450. This game started in May with 45 students, and now we're down to the last 17. Besides the senior activities, we are in the final week of school for all senior students, and the student council decided to have a spirit week to celebrate the end of the school year with a barbecue, including a slip and slide on Friday. And this will conclude my report.
Thanks very much for your last report. Just like SNL, or you're signing off for the last time. Councillor Ray, you're looking at me like, hurry up, get over here.
Thank you, Mayor. May 25th was our last council meeting. On the 26th, as Councillor Daly mentioned, we had a second Fieldhouse user group meeting. On the 27th, I had a rec committee meeting in the morning and followed that up with some tree planting at the Sportsplex. May 28th, I attended the DART meeting held at the Dauphin Friendship Center. 29th, I attended the ceremony for the renaming portion of the highway by the airport in honor of Colonel Billy Barker. I'm not old enough to call him Willie. And June 3rd, I was present for the Property Standards Committee meeting at City Hall. And on the 4th, I attended the Community Safety Wellbeing Advisory Committee meeting with CCFSC, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Councillor Sticilo, yes, you're eagerly waiting.
I figured out the pattern that we were going. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For myself, regular council meeting on May the 25th. On May 29th, I too was in attendance for the highway renaming out at the airport, and later that afternoon at the hospital for the 125th anniversary. I just, with having a graduate in the household too, I know there is a lot of planning going on for June 20th graduation date. So I just want to wish all the graduates congratulations and have a safe graduation time. And yeah, it's really exciting time of the year when this rolls around. So I know there's been a lot of planning and a lot of work going into the final last few weeks of school, but congratulations nonetheless. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Councillor Scarlo and Councillor Bellemare.
Thank you. On May 26th, I attended two meetings, the Dauphin Public Library and also the Watson Board meeting. On the 28th, the Climate Adaptation Working Group meeting. And on May 25th and June 4th, we did interviews for Riverside Cemetery for summer groundskeeping employees, and on the 4th, Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee meeting. At the Watson, we've just formed an art collection committee. There's a whole pile of art in the basement, and it needs to be sorted and photographed and put into a spreadsheet. So if you know anyone that would be a good fit for that, let me know, or they can contact the Watson. And also on a week from tomorrow, the Watson is having their AGM at 7. So if you're interested in knowing more about what happens there or volunteering, they'd love to see you there. And just some kudos. It's planting season, if you can tell from the fingernails. And we're very lucky. We have two great local plant nurseries here, Secord Crow. And new this year, Way to Grow is also a part of our community. They're based out of Grandview, and they were selling out of Gilbert, but they brought the portion from Burst Greenhouse, and they're doing a roaring business there as well. So, and also note that the Burst company is still doing landscaping work. They're just not doing the greenhouse stuff. So if you need anything for that, they're there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And student member Danica.
Since the last meeting, the DRCSS concert bands and jazz bands both gave excellent performances at their final concert. The DRCSS track team has qualified for provincials and will be leaving to compete June 11th. The student council met and prepared activities for this week's Spirit Week themes and activities to celebrate the end of the school year, helping students finish the year on a positive and memorable note.
Thank you. And I too attended a couple of the events that councillors had mentioned, the highway dedication and the hospital 125th. There was also, I also watched the crit race on Sunday. The upside, as much as the excitement of the race, was there were over 60 participants from everywhere but here. So there was over 60 people and their families that were in town for the whole weekend. And that's the whole point of doing our tourism and promotion strategy the way it is. And the reason we have 2nd Avenue, 1st Avenue as facilities for these kind of events. And so the whole notion of, again, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon of promoting the craft district concept. This is an example of the kind of thing that happens, where you bring in over 60 people that stay in our community for a weekend to participate in road races in the national park, which is a gem. We have the best elevation in the province. And then to have a city, I talked to some of the Manitoba Cycling Association folks that were responsible for putting on the race, and they were blown away by the support they got from the community, where they said that, you know, we do this, we try and do this in a few communities. The kind of support they got from Dauphin in terms of the barricades that were up, the support that they got, the street was clean, like all the things that they needed to put on a decent race happened. Now we need a little bit more shade on 2nd Avenue, or you have to stand on one side of the road. But it was amazing to see the kids and old guys that were competing. There was one bike group that was, their team name was Fog, Fast Old Guys. And they were in town and they were having a hoot. And unfortunately, in the final race, you have to ride 50 laps. No, they ride for 50 minutes before they race for the final 4 laps. And if you get lapped, you're basically red carded or yellow carded. And if you get lapped twice, you're out. So all of the FOG guys in the final race were gone before it was done, because the kid who won is a 17-year-old guy from Winnipeg who's living in Vancouver. Was talking to his mom. He flies into Manitoba routinely during the summer to compete in races. The kid was lapped everyone twice. So it's a 6-block circuit, and he was 12 blocks ahead of everybody. and he was doing 1 minute, 8-second laps for the entire race, averaged. So I was sitting with a couple of bike enthusiasts and we were timing this guy coming around, and it was spectacular to see that up close. So just like on TV, when you see the race cars go by, it's like, boom. And then you wait for 1 minute and 8 seconds and you see him go by again. Pretty spectacular. So great event. And then a couple of other things that are going on in the community right after council meeting tonight. There's two things in the community. There is the members of our municipality and other municipalities are holding their councilor information session tonight at the theater, at the cinema. And there is an event at the library that starts at 7 o'clock, which is Riding Mountain National Park is presenting their information on the North End Trail development. So if anybody's interested in getting the federal government or the Park Canada's indication of what's going on with trail development, they're doing their presentation. Very similar, I think, to what Northgate did a couple weeks ago at Obsolete. And with that, I just wanted to mention that I attended the AC grad, and was blown away by the positive comments that people gave with the new portable stage. It was the first event other than the concert that night with the use of the stage. And I talked to Wes at DRS, and he said everybody was commenting on how sturdy the stage was, how stable it was, how they could put scrim on it, they could decorate it up, and that the handrails were solid. Who would have thunk it that if you buy good stuff, it gets appreciated? So with that, call for the question. All in favor of accepting council reports? Anyone opposed? Carried.